Okay, welcome back. Italy are reporting that Manchester United forwards Alejandro Garnacho is Napoli's first choice to replace Kvichka Kvaratskhelia, with the Italian side under the impression the fee would be around £59 million. Despite that, Ruben Amorim says he sees a bright future for Garnacho at United. Is he a player that you see having a good future at United? That is clear. He has talent. He needs to learn to play a little bit in a different position. He needs to play better inside. He improves a lot the recovering position when he doesn't have the ball. But doing that, sometimes he is not in the right place to make transitions like he was in the past, because I prefer to defend and then build up with all the team to reach the final third. He is finding the best way to play in this system. Jamie, he is improving during training. He started the last game. Let's see. Yes, so we'll see. Nick, how important is Garnacho at United, do you think? Well, positive words from Amorim there, but in terms of game time under the new manager, you have to say he does seem to have become less important over the last few weeks. So here we have a comparison between his numbers under Erik Ten Hag. Of course, he was a key player for Ten Hag, he wasn't a regular starter, and here he is under Ruben Amorim on the other side. So 14 games played for Ten Hag, 12 under Amorim, but actually only 5 of those 12 appearances have been starts. So he has mostly been used as a substitute. Now we can see the difference in his productivity as well. He hasn't been as effective under Amorim. So under Ten Hag, in those early months of the season, 5 goals and 3 assists in all competitions. That averaged as a goal involvement it was 0.84 per 90 minutes for him in that period. Compare that to under Amorim, and there is a big drop-off, isn't there? So only 1 goal, only 1 assist, and a goal involvement it's 0.28% per 90 minutes for him now. So a drop in productivity and a drop in playing time. So an interesting one there. Interesting to see what happens with his future, of course, with clubs from elsewhere looking at him. The fact that the wingers with Martinelli on the right-hand side are going wide, they're not cutting back inside, they're getting the ball into the box. Yeah, I feel that way, but you need someone in areas that are going to go in and, exploit that space, go into that space where they're going to have chances. Where just in that one way, if you've got an out-and-out centre forward that makes that run forward, one of their midfielders comes in like the Villa goal where Ollie Watkins goes forward and the attacking midfielder comes in. I just think Arsenal are really screaming out for an out-and-out centre forward that's going to play between the lines of the 18-yard box, not go out wide. Kai Havertz ended up playing out wide left at times. You want someone that's just going to play between the goals, because I feel with what they've got, wide players, they'll score goals. Or whether it's a striker or something else, maybe multiple other players. Are we just seeing that Arsenal's squad isn't equipped to stand the rigors of multiple challenges this season? Now, I don't agree with that, if I'm being honest, because they're schoolboy errors. They're schoolboy errors. It's not like teams are opening them up and you're going, oh my God, they could be stopped today. I don't care what division you're in. Them 2 goals could be stopped. If you do your job, and all you're asking as a manager is for them players to go out on that pitch and do their job. Whether it be a centre forward, he's got to score a goal, or if it's the wingers, they've got to get their crosses in. That's what you'll be told as the manager. We'll say, the 2 wingers, get your cross in, forward need a goal. Midfield players, keep it tight and defend. Follow your runners and defend. And today certain players let Arteta down. And I don't think that's because the score's shallow, because today we've just seen 2 big mistakes. Mourinho lets Tielemans run off him. And honestly, I cannot believe what I've just watched with Partey. I can't believe it. Let's read out to you another graphic, which gives us maybe an indicator of where this is going wrong for Arsenal this season. Record against top and bottom half teams. Let me just show you the right-hand column first of all. 10 wins out of 11 against the bottom half, and maybe 2 wins out of 11 against top half teams. Tells the story. You know what? That's really strange for me, because with Arsenal, you'd sit there and think, right, bottom half teams will come to the Emirates or even away from home, sit 10 behind the ball, make it really difficult. The top half teams might come to the Emirates or even at home have a go at Arsenal. And that's when Arsenal, you think, will find gaps and with their play will open teams up. I mean, I'm flabbergasted with that because, teams, the top half teams will have a go at Arsenal and there's room, the bottom half teams. Yeah, I'm flabbergasted with that. I really am. I just think Arsenal, I'm really worried about mentality, if I'm being honest. But remember how they finished last season? Yeah. Shit went on that extraordinary run of results. Was it 16 wins from the last 18 games? They've got, 17 left now, 16 left now. So this, in theory, they could still go on another extraordinary run. Do they have that within their capability, do you think? Especially if they were added to another forward player. I think they need to add another forward player. I think that's key for me with Arsenal. I really do. Not having Saka is a massive blow. I know that he'll come back in March sort of time. He might be back available. But losing him for me is such a key player to lose. You're not getting the best out of Odegaard because they're on the same wavelength. You need someone who's going to be sticking the ball. They are creating chances. That's the thing. It's not like they're not creating chances, but today if they go and get that third goal, and maybe a fourth goal, which we've seen Arsenal do time and time again. That's where they blow teams away. They're not blowing teams away and they're conceding poor goals today, but doesn't it also always feel like a crisis when Arsenal drop points? You play for Arsenal Football Club, they're a Rolls-Royce football club. You play for, United are 15th, 16th place. They lose a game and everybody goes, oh my God, Man United have lost, but they've lost because they're not very good, but still a crisis because it's Man United. And it's the same with Arsenal. These are top teams. You go and play for them teams. You've got to follow runners. You've got to defend. You've got to put yourself on the line, and that's why they play for big clubs. But I've watched now, when I started, I backed Arsenal the last 2 years and thought, you know what, they've been unlucky. They've pushed one of the best teams we've ever seen all the way to the penultimate game and to the last game. Now I'm watching them, I think, have they got it? Have they got it? When push comes to shove, like today, clearly you think, not. I start to worry now. I do start to worry. I watch it. I mean, the Tottenham game looks after itself. Tottenham, the moment are struggling. Their players, ain't got all their players fit. But when I was fortunate enough to win 2 league titles, you've got to have something. You've got to have something about you that you've got to go, he ain't scoring. I'm defending, and the 2 goals, Mourinho and Partey, you want to stop the game with a Partey one and get the ref to give him a mic and go up to him and go, right, what was you thinking? You do. Because I want to know what he was thinking. I just don't know. I dread to think what Jamie's going to do on Monday night, because he would look at that and Jamie would have never done that. And he must have played, 600-700 games, Jamie Carragher, or even more. He would have never done that in his life. Never, ever. He would have gone, that's my man, I'm standing with him. He wouldn't have just gone like that and walked off. I think what's frustrating with Arsenal is, I think last season, they've come so close. They've scored, 90-odd goals that they've scored, same goal difference as Man City, so close, and they have been. But have they pushed on to go and get even closer to winning the title? That's where I think that they fell short. I think they've needed to have a striker come through the doors. City did it with Haaland when they bought Haaland in. Go and get a Gyökeres or go and get someone who they could have had. There was links with Isaac there at the early stages of the season. Go and get someone that's going to go and play through the middle. You've got so much quality in wide areas, and that's where I feel there's a piece missing in that. And now I'm starting to think, I wanted them to go and really push Liverpool. I just don't know if I see it's quite them with Merce. There's not quite that fit there at the moment. And the standout tie from the FA Cup third round didn't disappoint, as Arsenal and Manchester United produced a thriller. United triumphed on penalties despite playing an hour with 10 men. Arsenal once again were made to pay for wayward finishing, and their problems were compounded by Gabriel Jesus going off with a serious-looking injury. We managed to score, and then I felt that in that moment, we were able to improve with the ball. But with the send-off, it was really hard on us. And then we suffered altogether, defending very well with some opportunities from Arsenal. The players were really tired, but I felt since the first minute that today was our day. And I felt also a connection with our fans, our staff. It was a very good day for us in that aspect. We need to improve the way we play football. Well, for United, there were redemption stories for Joshua Zirkzee and Altay Bayındır. Zirkzee scored the winning penalty after only 2 weeks ago he was substituted in the first half against Newcastle and jeered by United fans. While Bayındır's poor punch led to Arsenal's goal, then made up for it with 2 penalty saves. Your life as a footballer has cycles and moments, and sometimes in 1 week your life can change, and you can see Altay. Against Tottenham, everybody was pointing the finger for Altay, and I understand that. And today he was their hero also. Joshua a few weeks ago had a small problem with our fans, and today every time he's going on the pitch, you feel the support from the fans, and then he has the last penalty. So the life is like that, and you have to continue humble to work every day. Your time will come, and so it's really important for them. Not just for them, but for his teammates. Okay, we'll look at the Arsenal point of view in a few minutes on the football show, but to the victor, the spoils. Let's turn our attention to Manchester United. So down to 10, but still a draw after 120 minutes. Following on from that draw with Liverpool, we said they needed to back it up. Did they do just that? Are we really seeing improvements here? Yeah, I think that's what we said. It was great doing it against Liverpool. Can they then do it against Arsenal? Can they continue to keep doing it? And I think what we saw was a real strong defensive display. I thought they were very well organized off the ball. The shape was very good. I thought they worked really hard and, made it difficult for Arsenal. I suppose that helps with time on the training ground. They've had that period where Amorim can work with his players and work on the shape, so that's bound to help. I think also maybe having a consistent lineup in terms of not chopping and changing. We saw a lot of players in and out. We were saying, was he sort of trialing players, or was that due to the amount of games that they had and he had to keep changing? So the fact that now you could probably name 9 or 10 out of his starting 11 he wants. I'm not saying that's going to be his starting 11 going forward. I think he certainly will bring in players that he wants to fit into that system. But at the moment, the players that he feels are right at this moment in time, you could probably say. So I think that helps with connections then, doesn't it? So yeah, I think you've got to praise how strong they were defensively. I think the thing is now moving forward, you look, I think the play in Southampton next, what are they going to be like in an attacking sense? So if they've got to then take the game to teams, how are they going to be then? I suppose that's the next question. But from a defensive perspective, and obviously the result, the fact that they're into the next round, I think is certainly positives to take. Yeah, let's talk about Altabay and Deer, shall we? And his post-match interview would have been music to Amorim's ears, because effectively what he was saying is, yeah, I don't play very much, but this is Manchester United. You have to be ready when you're called upon. He made that key penalty save in normal time. Considering how little he has played, how impressed was he? Yeah, I think, like he says, though, you've always got to be prepared and you've got to train properly, be ready for those situations.
So there's an element of luck at times with a penalty save as well, but then there's the other side of it, where there is your homework, where you look at what the player who's taken the penalty does and what his record is, and Odegaard had a decent enough record. I think he scored 3 out of 3 before that penalty yesterday. So yeah, it's a really good save from him. I think there's been sections of maybe Manchester United fans who've wanted to see a little bit more of him. I know he made a mistake previously the last time he played, but then when you've got the consistent run of games, you can showcase what you can do in more long term. So I think it's something that maybe Amorim will look at a little bit more closely, because I think Altay has been at fault for a lot in recent weeks and hasn't covered himself in too much glory. Yeah, what about Joshua Zirkzee? When he stood up to take that final penalty, I don't know what he was thinking, but I was looking between my fingers considering what had gone before. We've seen him struggle since joining United. How much could this be a turning point? How much does he need this? Yeah, I hope that I was the same as you, and I think unless you're an Arsenal fan, just as a football fan, you just wanted him to do well. You wanted him to score that because of what had happened previously in the Newcastle game, where he was took off. Was it 33 minutes? I think he was took off, and then what had happened with a section of the fans. So you just wanted him to be successful. I actually thought he did well when he came on. He held the ball up well, he linked play, he worked hard off the ball, and yeah, it's a big moment, isn't it? When all of that's happened, it shows, I suppose, the character of the player, and it just shows how football can change so quickly. You know, one week you're coming off, and it wasn't just him. I think they obviously, Amorim needed to change things because of what was happening in that Newcastle game. Because of how they were getting overrun in the midfield area. But you have to then go, okay, that's happened to me, how do I respond from that? And you know, he certainly responded in the right way. It's now he's the hero, isn't he, scoring the winning penalty. Stephen, you said for so long that United lacked an identity. When Ten Hag is, you saying, I really don't know what this is. Are we starting to see that? And if so, what are we seeing that indicates that? Yeah, I think we are seeing a little bit of an identity. I don't still think it's one that Manchester United, and I know a lot of Manchester United fans have been buoyed by the last couple of results, and the results against Liverpool and the result yesterday. Nolan touched on it earlier as I spoke about this the other day, about the system and how difficult it is to play in. I think the players are starting to adapt to that system, but more so in a defensive way when you try and flip that and then go to an attacking sense. It's very easy when you play 3 at the back and you play wing backs to drop back into a deep shape, and you can invite pressure onto you because it should be difficult to break that team down, and I think that's what we've seen in Manchester United. Especially yesterday against Arsenal, when they do go down to 10 men and they find it difficult to get up the pitch, but it's what's happening at the top end of the pitch. Where's the creativity? What's the ideas going forward? So I know he doesn't have the players yet to perhaps play out the system that he wants to bring in, which is that the 3-4-3 system, but I'm still not convinced by it. I'm still going to put my neck on the line and say I don't like the system, and I'm talking about that from a point of view of playing within that system, and then I've taken a lot of criticism online and social media about this, but there's still an element where you think if you want to win things in this system, and that is ultimately what Manchester United are trying to get back to, is back to competing for the Premier League, from back to competing for trophies, is that's where you're going to be questioned. And people will come at me again and go, yeah, but Bayern Leverkusen did it, it's not the Premier League, it's not as competitive, look what happened. When they came to Anfield this season they got battered 4-0 because of the system. Slot found faults within the system, and then United fans will say yeah. But they didn't find those faults in United when they came to Anfield. It's a different game, it's a derby. It's not this normal type of game that you play in week in week out. There's so much emotion and so much tension in them games. Is that decision making isn't quite at its best. So listen, the last couple of games United fans will be buoyant, they'll be delighted with what they've seen, but let's judge them at the end of the season and where they end up. He didn't like playing in the back three, he hated it, absolutely didn't. I think I've got that after all these years. Okay Nolan, I mean winning an FA Cup third round tie is lovely, I'm getting a draw at Anfield kind of okay, but they're 13th in the table, they're closer to Ipswich in the bottom three than they are points-wise to Chelsea in the top four, so what is success? Well, what would be considered okay for Amorim? Between now and May I suppose it's to see progression. Isn't it? It's to see this team develop into the team that Manchester United fans want to see, something that they can maybe believe in and go, okay, this is how we're going to play, this is our identity, which is something that we said for a long period of time. And with Manchester United we couldn't see how they were moving forward and what the identity was. You can straight away, you know exactly what they're trying to do, so I suppose to see progression in that maybe the players that they bring in to fit into that system, and yet it's just building. So at the moment we're seeing real solid defensive foundations, so they're building on that, then it's okay. What can we see that from them in an attacking sense? Because at the moment we are still seeing just those moments of brilliance, the Bruno Fernandes finish at the breakaway, whether it's armored or so. That's what we were saying previously. We were saying, well, they've got moments in an attacking sense, but can we see that consistently? So I think that's probably what Manchester United fans want to see. But I also want to praise, I think, Harry Maguire. I think he's done brilliant, to come into that back three. I think it suits him really well. He loves it, he does, but you could tell, can't you? And his performances of De Ligt as well, like that clearance, absolutely, and that's what you're seeing. So you're seeing that. Let's see the attacking sense. So if they could go and be successful in a corp and just see the progression, I think Manchester United fans will see that it may be a building season for next year. I think this is a really difficult question though, in the fact of when you say what the Manchester United fans expect or what's acceptable is all we keep on hearing is, and this is from United fans as well. We don't have the players to play the system, so if you don't have the players to play the system, where do you expect United to finish in the league? Then how do you expect to see United progressing as a team if they don't have their players to play within the system? It's very difficult, isn't it? And then you're going, well, we'll judge them next year when they bring the players in. That's when you effectively should be judging him, because it's very difficult to come in halfway through a season if he doesn't have the players to play the system that he wants to play. Now if he comes in and says, I don't care about the players, it's just about improvements in the system and making sure things get better, they will start to climb the table. But he's going to get rid of quite a lot of these players apparently, so I'm a little bit torn as to how you judge where they're at as a football club. Effectively you're saying it doesn't matter what happens this year, it's all about next year. Then judge me next year when I get my signings in, but then they'll always be, but judge me in the next transfer window and the one after that, because I'm still adding to this, and that's what people are always going to say. And the other thing is, do Manchester United then really invest in that system and bring players in to play in that system to then go, oh, actually that hasn't worked? That's another concern, I suppose, for Manchester United, because we saw what happened with Ten Hag, where Ten Hag was going to go and they then went, oh no, we want you to stay, we'll give you all this money. So again, he's brought in the players that he wants that now Amorim doesn't really want. So it's, what I gathered from that is Steven is arguing, bin off the back three and go back four, you're not playing anymore.
Baker. It's interesting because at half-time, this could have been even better for the Forest fairy tale. They led 1-0 at half-time, but it was only half-time. Ultimately, when you look at this, hate to say I called it, it was a draw. What is your take? Is this a successful night for both teams, or maybe still a bit disappointing for Liverpool? A little bit disappointing for Liverpool, given the differences in the second half. The second half was very different, and they made it different, and fair play. Stephen talked about an increased tempo needed. We definitely saw that. They absolutely asked so many questions of Nottingham Forest. I looked at them midway through the second half and they looked so tired, so ragged. Not quite so, bank of four. You know, it looked a little less compact. I mean, they run themselves into the ground and you're seeing the scenes there and the fans cheering and appreciating what this team has done, what the manager's done, based on basically how much they care and how much they're running their socks off, every single player, to try and keep this run going. Liverpool can freshen it up with quality players off the bench, which they did. There was more freshness again, more kind of differences in the way that they attacked. They will feel they should have won it, but fair play to Forest. The goalkeeper, again, had a really big game. I mean, you called it a jotter. He came on as a substitute in the 66th minute. 22 seconds later, he scores a goal. There's something about, I'm sure he's the smallest guy in the box, as set pieces. He gets right in between, and he's done that before, by the way, and scores a header, to your point. But there's something about having that talent on the bench that you know you can bring on, to your point, to keep them fresh. If you're Nottingham Forest, what are your emotions after this game? Do you know what? They'll be disappointed because they went 1-0 ahead, but then you've got to understand what you're going up against in Liverpool. I love the fact that when you watch Liverpool now, under Jurgen Klopp, we knew what we were going to get every week. Under Armstrong, he's got the ability to tinker with the systems. You see Gravenberg go into the centre-back position. Then he goes back into midfield. So you're constantly asked questions as a player. So Nottingham Forest today will be saying, he threw everything at us there. We conceded 1 goal. Yes, the goalkeeper was incredible in the way he played. But there'll be a sense that what could have been. However, it's still a brilliant result for them. What could have been? Because at half-time, you're looking at that and the table would have been a little bit different. There would have just been 3 points between them and Liverpool instead of the 6. Nevertheless, they are up to second, and this is anything but over. I almost asked you in our coverage before the game, could this possibly be a fixture between 2 title contenders? What's your answer now? Well, I think when you look at the league table right now, they are in a position that deserves respect. And you've got to say they're in the race because they're right there. They're in second place right now. There's a long way to go. And I think most people like us would expect them to drop out. But Leicester didn't in 2016. If they'd have won today, then maybe they'd think more special things are happening. But that's a difficult game. As Stephen says, Liverpool found a way to throw so much at them. They just couldn't. There's the smallest guy from the set-piece, the most least expected way of Liverpool to score in that goal. That's what happened in the game. They might be disappointed for us, but even so, that's still a great performance from them. But just quickly, haven't you been expecting them to drop out for a while, and that's just not happening? That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that's why I won't rule them out. They're not in a race and they can't win it. I won't say that. They're in the race. Yeah, they're in the race. You know, you sensed when the equalizer was scored, Danny. You heard them say it on site. You sensed the change of mood. You could see the enthusiasm as he ran around celebrating that goal. I mean, the night just got so much better for him. But what did this prove for United, do you think? There is a long way to go, I think. When you look at Ahmad, it's 5 goals, 4 assists, and 10 games in the Premier League under Amorim. And that's the type of play that he wants. Energy, desire, commitment, never knowing when you're beaten. And he has been incredible. Now, the problem that you have, there's a lot of pressure on Ahmad now. And we've seen throughout the years of Manchester United, they're known for bringing younger players through, especially when they had that successful era. There were senior players in the team then that could look after their own game, as well as looking after the younger players. Whereas now, it's the younger players that are driving the game. Okay, Mainu was taken off at half-time. We've seen Garnacho flee in and out. But Ahmad's just been absolutely sensational. And if anything, he's probably leading the way for a lot of the senior players. How much does this maybe change the course of his career or his position, his role in the team at United? What he just did today? He just continues to grow, I believe. I think I see him as one of those players at the moment that is having moments in games where the timing of the run's right, the finishing's right. It's one of those moments that you've just got to embrace and keep on going. At some point, he'll have a dip because of his age and his inexperience. And that's the way it is. But I mean, you've just got to ride that wave at the moment. And I think what we need to point out here, and Danny makes a really good point, is that a lot of Manchester United fans will come away from this game very pleased with the results and think, oh, we're back and that's great. There's a lot of cracks being papered over there. That was a poor performance from Manchester United. Well, these goals only began in the 82nd minute, Danny, so it was definitely a different story for the first half of this game. It was, and I think, yes, Manchester United have gone on to win the game 3-1, but it was always going to be, when Southampton took the lead, if Manchester United could get the next goal, and there's 15-20 minutes left, they'd probably go on to win the game because they're bottom of the league, Southampton. So their confidence is really low. We spoke about the Brentford game. They lose that game 5-2. It's 1-0 after 60 minutes. So, it's positive in terms of Ahmad, what he's doing. And let's not forget that he played right wing back this evening as well. And to get a hat-trick is incredible. There's a lot of work to be done. And what I would say, yes, Manchester United won the game. But Amorim, once again, he will have learned more from this game as well, more so than the Liverpool game, the Manchester City game, and the Arsenal game. And that's what he said beforehand. He expected to learn more from this game just because of the expectation perhaps that came with facing Southampton. So no doubt, he was man of the match tonight.